So you see the world through a structure of identity. That doesn't mean you know what that is, as you pointed out. When you tell a story about yourself, what you're trying to do is to approximate, you're trying to encapsulate that implicit identity into something that's communicable, and then that something that also becomes explicitly understandable to you. This is partly what dreams do. So in the dream, your implicit identity reveals itself, but not entirely coherently and not entirely verbally. If you take a dream and you interpret it, if you have the good fortune to be able to manage that and maybe some help, you're moving the information that's part of your implicit identity upward into something that's more explicitly recognized. Like, what you'd hope is that what you're actually pursuing, pre-consciously or unconsciously, is mapped very well by your self-description, right? Because then you're a person that has a certain degree of integrity. Who you think you are and who you are the same thing. That's an optimal situation. That's the pursuit of something like integrity, say, in moral development, maybe in psychotherapy, in a relationship that's positive and productive. It's all moving towards that end. And it's very useful to understand that what stories do is, stories are the manner in which implicit identity makes itself explicit. And so the biblical stories, for example, are part of the process, the historical process by which the developing morality of individuals, as they become more complexly civilized, reveals itself to those cultures and to the participants. It's a dynamic process, and it's much better to understand the stories that way. You know, the atheist types tend to parody belief in God, say, as belief in something like the great genie in the sky daddy, I think, the benevolent sky daddy, which is the terminology that people like Richard Dawkins use. But that's it's a dismissive parody of the phenomena. It's not a reasonable approach, because the realm of religious conceptualization is far more sophisticated than that parody would indicate. Like, I mean, let's take the idea that the divine reveals itself as the call of adventure. Well, this is a serious idea to contend with. So what it implies is that there's a spirit, so to speak, a process, a dynamic that reveals itself within us, that captures what interests us and compels us forward in consequence, and that following that, so when God comes to Abraham, he makes Abraham an offer, like a very explicit offer.